Hey friends, hey, it's your favorite host, LaDonna PM here. Listen, I know you're busy enjoying my podcast, The Owner's Manual, but have you ever wanted to have your own podcast? You heard me right. You can do this too. Just like I mentioned in episode 2 of The Owner's Manual, shameless plug, the world needs your voice of inspiration and genius. You can have your very own podcast using Anchor, and it's so easy. You don't need any special equipment. Although that's nice, you can do it right from your sofa and your cell phone. No joke. It costs $0. Yep, you heard me right. It's free 99. And all the tools that you need to customize your podcast are at your fingertips. Anchor even distributes your podcast for you, so you can be heard on multiple platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and so much more. And you can easily monetize your podcast. So all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Hey, I can't wait to listen in. Thank you for joining me for another episode on the Owner's Manual podcast. I am your host, LaDonna PM, aka Miss Purpose Pusher, and the OWN podcast is the #1 destination for us busybodies who want positive perspectives and inspiration to create moments of purposeful pause in our lives. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Owner's Manual podcast. I'm your host, LaDonna PM, and today we are talking about how to own your shift. That's right. I said shift, not the other word, but today we're talking about owning your shift. What does it mean to own your shifts in life, and how do you faith your way forward? Today, I'm going to be giving you 2 keys that I use on effectively owning my shift. And I'm going to share with you 10 tips of self-awareness to give you a boost of positivity and inspiration while you're owning your shift. Sounds good? But first, I want to say thank you all for joining me last week for episode number 8 of the Owner's Manual podcast, where we talked about how there's no testimony that can ever occur without being tested first. I shared with you a personal journey that I'm going through right now during this quarantine time. And I think that if you're also feeling like you're being tested in this journey, then that episode is definitely for you. I shared with you how this test has provided me a testimony that has not only strengthened my character and strengthen my consecration to my purpose, but also formed a deeper bond of commitment that I have within myself to see this through. So if you need a little help in that area, if you need a little boost of confidence and inspiration along your journey of being tested, you have my full permission to press pause on this episode and go back and enjoy. Take notes and learn from episode number 8, where we discussed no testimony without a test. But if you're ready for episode number 9, stay tuned. After the break, we'll dive right into owning your shift. Hey friends, if you've been enjoying the Owner's Manual podcast, let's stay connected. You can find me on Facebook at LaDonna Patrice or on Instagram at LaDonna.PM. My mission is to inspire, teach, and create, and I'm pretty sure you'll find all of that and more on my social media platforms. Let's stay connected. Here we are at one of my favorite segments of the Owner's Manual podcast, and that is the Soul Coaching Card of the Day. I recently introduced this segment a couple weeks ago, and I'm really loving integrating this into our Sunday sessions. So I'd like to share with you today's card of the day, brought to you by Denise Lynn, who is the author of the Soul Coaching Oracle Card Guidebook. And it's simply what your soul wants you to know. So each week, I pull a special card just for you, my listeners, to help you powerfully and immediately discern the truth of what your soul wants you to know. And so today's card is Beginnings. And I gotta say, it's such a beautiful card that goes wonderfully into today's episode of the Owner's Manual podcast, episode number 9, where we're talking about owning your shift. And what better way to start and frame the perspective of today's topic by this soul coaching card, which simply says beginnings. There's a beautiful picture of a tree with leaves that form a circle around it. So the tree's leaves, they're bare. The tree's branches are bare, and the leaves form a circle around the tree. And the affirmation that's on the card says that I cherish all the cycles in my life. The card simply means this: a new cycle is beginning in your life. Wipe the slate clean. It's now time to release the old and start again. Your soul wants you to know that life goes in cycles. In the phases of the earth, the plants die in the fall so that there can be new birth in the spring. It's the universal dance of death and rebirth. There's a time to end and begin, and this is the close of one cycle and the beginning of another. Although it's often difficult to release familiar routines, situations, or relationships when they no longer empower you, your soul asks that you not cling to the old, but set sail into new waters. Face your fear and allow yourself to stretch in a new direction. Your soul is at your side, and wonderful opportunities will be born in your life. Wholeness occurs when you can say yes to both endings and beginnings. The affirmation again is, I cherish all the cycles in my life. And what a beautiful segue to today's topic of owning your shift. Owning your shift naturally occurs when you are in full acceptance of new beginnings or new cycles. So your soul wants you to wipe the slate clean and begin anew. And how fitting, today's episode is being recorded on Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday if you're in the Western Hemisphere. Today is Easter Sunday, and this is the day that the resurrection of Jesus Christ is celebrated. And that Christ consciousness is within all of us. What are we rising to today? What new energy needs to be resurrected within us so those new beginnings can occur? What old energy needs to fall by the wayside to give way to new beginnings, new cycles, and new journeys forward? Wow, what a beautiful soul coaching card of the day. And stay tuned. We're going to dive right into episode number 9, where I'm going to share with you how to use this energy of welcoming the new by owning your shift. Stay tuned. Are you desiring a little bit more gratitude in your life? If you've been following along with my podcast, you'll know that one of the ways that I do this is by journaling. I've created a new journal just for you, available on Amazon. It's called My Love, Peace, and Joy Gratitude Journal. I believe that small seeds of gratitude produce a harvest of hope. So if you're desiring to create more spaces of gratitude in your life, allow this journal to help you achieve that goal. You can find my journal at this shortcut link, bit.ly bit.ly/LPM books. That's all lowercase. Again, that's bit.ly/LPM books. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, and welcome back. If you're just tuning in to the Owner's Manual podcast, today is episode number 9, where we're talking about how to own your shift. Now, we all have gone through things in life where a shift happens. It's just a part of the journey that we're on, and frankly, it's completely unavoidable. So, one of the things that I want you to come away with by the time that this podcast episode is done is just a solid understanding of what it means to own your own shift, right? When change happens, when shakeups happen, or when things happen to propel us more and more into our purpose journey, how do we own our shift and how do we faith our way forward? I believe that owning our shift comes from examining exactly where we are. It's taking an honest assessment of exactly where we stand in this moment during life transformations. And simply, that is just taking awareness or having a strong awareness of where we are. When you take an assessment, an honest assessment of exactly where you stand, that is almost like stripping bare, right? Taking an honest assessment means really truthfully looking at where you stand in this moment and just being honest with yourself and having this awareness of it may not be pretty. It may not be where I want to be at this moment, but it's an honest assessment of exactly where I stand. And doing that calls us to just really put it out there. It allows us to call out what isn't working and to call it forward into the light and line it up. You know what I mean? Like, to use this analogy, do you know I was watching a show the other day and there was a scene where something had happened in the town and the kids were called to try to identify the suspect. And you've seen these in stories all the time where there's a police lineup. There's a lineup to identify any characteristics of the quote unquote suspect, right? And so I want you to imagine that that's what I'm calling you to do. Examining the place where you are, I want you to walk into that building. You're behind the glass, and in front of you, you see different aspects of yourself. You see different emotions that you're feeling. You see different stages in life where you're currently standing. You're examining the stages. And each of those different aspects of yourself, you're examining them honestly, right? You're just observing them. You see maybe a panic emotion in front of you. You see maybe a state of calmness. You see maybe a sluggish state of being unable to move forward. You see all of that before you. And you're not placing judgment on it. You're just simply observing. You're calling it forward. Right now, I want you to examine where you are in your life, wherever that place may be, and call it forward into the light of examination. This, my friends, is the first key in owning your shift, and it's called a self-awareness. Most of us are collectively feeling energetic implications of many shifts that's happening in life. It could be mentally, spiritually, physical. And when those changes and shift happens, we feel that ripple effect of it. That's why no one can say that we're not connected. Energetically, we're all connected energetically. We're all contributing to that ripple, right? By the thoughts that we put out, the actions that we take, the energetic consciousness that we contribute to the world around us. We're all a part of this global shift. And while we're shifting, it's important during these life transformations is to acknowledge just simply where you are. Call them forward, line them up, and just simply focus on them, right? That's one of the keys to owning your shift. The second key that I believe is acceptance. Once you observe where you are, then we're in a place where we brought all of those things to light and we can now fully accept exactly what they are. And fully accepting what they are just means that we're putting ourselves in a position of ownership. So we've examined the place where we are, where we've fully immersed ourselves in the awareness of the shift, and now we're taking acceptance of where we are, which puts us in the position of ownership. And those are the two keys that I feel like would benefit you greatly when things happen in your life and when it's time for you to faith your way forward. Owning your shift simply means that you have to harness your awareness and your acceptance of that shift. And so you may be wondering to yourself, okay, now that I've gotten an awareness of where I am during my shift, and now that I've effectively owned it by taking a solid acceptance of where I am, how do I manage the shift? First, I want to explain to you exactly what I feel like shifts in the sense that I mean owning your shifts, or when shifts happen. Shifts are just transformations of being. It's just simply a transformation of being. Because we know that once we take awareness of it and once we accept it, we can now shift into a new perspective simply by how we manage it. And that's just paying attention to our emotions or changes in emotions, paying attention to changes in your energy, taking note on if you feel motivated to do something or do you feel very drained. And then also just emotionally purging, releasing those old emotions, releasing those past fears that come up, which are indicators of shadow work. It's indicators of more work to be done. So whenever things happen in your life that's pushing you or propelling you to take a shift, and you find that those, sometimes we can be faced with past fears or issues that take us back to certain places in our lives. I'll tell you, for me, one great example of that would be that I shared last week about having to close my salon. Now, the salon is really, how I create income for myself. And it's as a business owner, it's a way that I create revenue for myself. And having to close the doors of my salon really brought up some really old emotions that I had as a child concerning, my fear of feeling not supported, right? Abandoning my dreams. I felt like I was abandoning my dreams. I felt like I was halting something that I had been called to do. I felt like I had been forced or shut down, right? And then those old familiar fears crept up, and they were indicators of more work that I needed to do within myself to know and reinstill my faith that I'm okay, that I am secure, that I am completely taken care of. I had to release those old emotions. And so that's what I mean about managing your shift, is managing, where you are in those emotions, understanding if you may need to take some time to purge and release old things, old fears, old emotions that come up. Even people can pop up out of, seemingly nowhere, and either push you out of your comfort zone or inspire you to do new stuff. Case in point, while I was examining my feelings around the aspect of security or my insecurities, I got a phone call the other day from a friend, and it was simply an encouragement of dropping something in my spirit that I thought came from out of nowhere. And in fact, it wasn't just like it came out of nowhere. I had actually thought of these ideas sometime before, but kind of cast them aside like, oh, no, that's not my lane. But it always intrigued me. And to have that friend call me up and say, hey, have you ever considered X, Y, and Z? It really brought to light or things that, I have wanted to do before, but for whatever reason, I just kind of put it to the wayside. And so now, having people come up, I said out of nowhere, but we all know that's not true, right? That is a part of our consciousness, our subconsciousness, like meeting us where we have put our thoughts previously. And I always say that wherever we focus our thoughts on is that thoughts, those things expand. So what we focus on expands. What we put our attention and time and energy to creates an expansion, right? So all that is just, those things are coming back to the forefront. And how beautiful it is that there are people around me that can always remind me of those things that maybe I had pushed to the wayside, or maybe something that was dropped in my spirit that I need to explore further. That's why I said you can never be on your journey and feeling like you're on the wrong path. All roads lead to your purpose, whether you're fully embracing it or not. So anyway, back to managing shifts, right? Shifts, as I explained earlier, is just a transformation of being. That's all it is. It's just a transformation of being, shifting from one emanation of ourselves to a different one. And the key is to be open about it and not stuff it. Recently, my therapist took me through some activities that helped me understand ways at which I stuff my emotions. I stuff, how I truly feel about where I am in my journey. And, honestly, like I said before, examining that place from an honest assessment means that I'm aware of it. And then taking ownership means that I accept it. So accepting my own shifts allows me to be open, allows me to experience where I am right now, and manage it in my own way. I always say that the areas that were the most broken is where the light can enter. And that's a purposeful pause moment, whether we know it or not. I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to repeat that. Where we are broken is where the light can enter. Isn't that just a beautiful testament to how uniquely and wonderfully we're made? There are areas in our lives that shift and we think that we're broken. We think that we're not good fit for use, but that is not the truth. Those areas that's being shaken up in our lives and that are seemingly breaking, us apart, or breaking us and opening us up to new possibilities and new beginnings, that's where the light can enter. Where we're broken is where the light can enter. And so I want you to be open during your shift. Be open to evolving harmoniously and positively into this new aspect of ourselves that occurs when shift happens. Now that we've identified how to own our shifts and we've harnessed the two keys that we need, which are awareness and acceptance, and helping us develop new ways to manage when shift happens, I want to leave you with 10 self-care spiritual tips to help you own your shifts and faith your way forward. Tip number 1, be honest about where you are. Immerse yourself into the contemplation of exactly where you are by using the two keys that we just talked about, awareness and acceptance. And those things can only happen when we're honest about where we're standing in this moment. Number 2, get grounded. I'm going to tell you what that means. Often after my morning walks or after I've completed a run, I end each session by either removing my socks or keeping my socks on and removing my shoes and placing my feet directly onto the earth. This is an act of grounding myself to the powerful energy of nature. I cannot explain to you how wonderful it makes me feel to do this. I take 3 deep cleansing breaths and I stand there. connecting to the powerful energy that the earth provides, connecting myself to the peace and presence of nature. And do you know that this very act of grounding ourselves to the earth is an anti-inflammatory relief to our bodies, and it also helps to relieve stress? You should try it for yourself and let me know how it's helped you. Number 3, release all judgment. Have you ever just observed the words or your behavior sometimes? I know I do. And oftentimes, observing my behavior comes with judgment. I'm riddled in my thoughts of, oh, I should have done this, or I should have responded in this way, or I could have done this better. Or I'm constantly asking myself, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Which honestly places myself into a seat of judgment. It puts me in a space where I'm seeking validation outside of myself rather than relying on the love and acceptance that can only come from within. So this third tip is super important. Practice releasing judgment. Just observe your words and behavior and release any connection to wanting to be validated from any outside source, which is usually your ego's way of wanting to be validated. But instead, rely on the love and acceptance that comes from within. That love and acceptance that no matter where you're standing, all is well. Number 4, be kind to yourself and others. Being kind to ourselves and others answers the call to sow seeds of good karma by being generous, just being generous with our thoughts, being generous with our actions, our words, our love that we send out. That creates a ripple effect, because with that one drop of kindness, it creates a ripple effect of inspiration, and in turns, often inspires other people to return that generosity and that very kindness. Number 5, be inspired by positivity and uplifting things. Sometimes it's helpful to turn off the news. It's helpful to turn off the chatter around us. It's helpful to find something inspirational. Find you a good book that you can read. Reading itself, in and of itself, is such a deeply alchemical reality bender. And what I mean by that is, when you find yourself reading a really good book, we find ourselves getting lost in the characters. And you know what else it does? It helps you put yourself into the characters' lives and allow us to see new possibilities in our lives. We get to travel into new inspirational paths. I don't know about you, but when I'm reading an inspirational journey of triumph, I oftentimes put myself, I can relate to what it feels like. I can read those words and imagine that is me going through that powerful journey of triumph. And it creates an activity of connecting to a new reality for me. And that's why it says it's deeply alchemical. It helps us create new realities for ourselves because we're transported instantly to another world, whether it's mythical or, non-fictional. It doesn't matter. Seeing ourselves in other people's shoes creates, and especially when the stories are inspiring and uplifting, it allows us to see ourselves in that same light. Number 6, be still and know. How often do we create spaces in our lives for silence? Just to hear. Prayer is a conversation or petition, but meditation is to be an empty vessel to receive all that you've petitioned in your prayers. And so creating spaces to just be still and know that the answers that you seek are coming to you willfully, that is definitely one of my favorite in these top 10 tips for self-awareness, and to add, more spirituality and helping us faith our way forward. Number 7, relax and release. Imagine, if you will, that all the issues that you have in your life right now are just balloons being held down by the weight of our hands, right? And when in these balloons, I want you to place all the things, put every weight of all the things that you feel like are affecting you right now in your life. Every weight, every concern, every issue. And I want you to place them inside of that balloon. And when you're ready, imagine yourself just releasing it. Open your hands and release. By doing this very act of detaching yourself from the weight of all the things that continue to hold you down and to hold your thoughts and emotions hostage, you're surrendering. You're detaching. You're relinquishing all of those connections to the things that weigh you down. You're letting go of your ego's need to be weighed down by things. You're surrendering to a possible outcome that can only come when you're releasing what's in your hands. And honestly, you can't grasp anything new until you release what's in your hand. So relax and release. Relax and release. Number 8 is prayer. Prayer to me is like a medicine. It's a healing balm. We can pray through words, through devotion. We can pray out loud. We can pray quietly. We can pray through dance. We can pray through song, through movement. We can pray through our tears. We can pray on our knees as an act of humility. It's just another form of surrender, which is also medicine to our souls. Number 9, move your body. Get that blood flowing. That's one of the ways that we can just actively connect to self-awareness, being aware of how your body moves, being aware of areas where there's restriction or tightness, being aware of areas where there needs to be more flow. And do you know that moving your body, even in exercising and taking a walk, or even in running, it releases these endorphins that are like feel-good emotions that help us feel good about ourselves and in our lives. Number 10, make self-care a priority. I can't stress this enough. Tending to the vessel of you, because you can't pour out of an empty vessel. So I encourage you to make self-care a priority. And you know what that looks like for you. Whether it's chanting or creative activity or painting or tending to your body or relaxing in a tub of herbs and salts and soothing sounds and senses. Whatever self-care looks like for you, I want you to create more space for that in your life. Make that a priority. And friends, these are my top 10 spiritual tips to help you own your shift and faith your way forward. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Owner's Manual Podcast. Again, I am your host, LaDonna PM, and it has been an honor and a pleasure to join you this week, giving you 2 keys that you could use to own your shift. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Please reach out and let me know if this has been helpful to you. I love hearing from listeners. I love hearing how this has inspired you to keep moving forward. Join me next week. Until next time, keep living a purpose-filled life. Peace and blessings, friends. All right, friends. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast and you want to stay connected with me, join my Purpose Tribe at bit.ly/LaDonna Inspires. Sign up for my mailing list and receive 2 super awesome curated goodies for you to walk in your purpose. Starting with renewing your mind. You don't want to miss out on these 2 goodies that I curated just for you. Again, you can get those by signing up to the LaDonna PM Purpose Tribe at bit.ly/LaDonna Inspires.